Thanks, Danny. I love Washington.
A man in uniform takes the stand, another stands to accuse him. What follows is 14 minutes of rising tension, verbal warfare, and one of the most explosive confessions in film history. But it's not just the performances or the script that make this scene unforgettable. It's the way the camera moves, the way the space tightens, the way power shifts without a single word. This isn't just courtroom drama, it's cinematic chess. And here's the twist. You could mute the entire scene, and it would still hit just as hard. How do you pull that off? Let's take a look. From the start, Lieutenant Daniel Kaffee doesn't look like a hero. He's a Navy lawyer who avoids trials, prefers plea deals, and doesn't take things too seriously. When he's assigned to defend two Marines accused of killing a fellow soldier at Guantanamo Bay, it feels like a mismatch.
It's offering involuntary manslaughter 2 years. Be home in 6 months.
The truth is complicated. The Marines claim they were following orders, a so-called Code Red, an unofficial punishment that isn't supposed to exist. Kaffee is reluctant. The case is messy, the consequences are massive, and pushing too far could destroy his career. Because if he's wrong, if he accuses a decorated colonel of giving an illegal order without hard proof, he could be court-martialed himself. But as the investigation deepens, the clues point in one direction: Colonel Nathan Jessup. And in the final scene, Kaffee makes a choice. He puts everything on the line to confront the man who embodies military power itself. On the surface, the final courtroom scene in A Few Good Men looks simple, just two men arguing. But what's remarkable is how the filmmakers use the camera to tell a second, silent story beneath the dialogue. This scene was made in the early 1990s, when courtroom scenes were typically shot with basic coverage. Wide shots for geography, shot reverse shot for dialogue, maybe a few inserts. But not here. Director Rob Reiner and cinematographer Robert Richardson make every shot count. The camera doesn't just record what happens, it shapes how we feel about it. As tension builds, the framing tightens, the angles shift, the space around Colonel Jessup starts to shrink. And what starts as a balanced legal exchange slowly turns into a trap, one that's sprung with surgical precision. No flashy tricks, just careful, purposeful choices that make us feel the walls closing in. Before Jessup even realizes it, the scene begins quietly. Lieutenant Kaffee stands to address the judge and calls Colonel Jessup to the stand. But instead of a static wide shot, the camera tilts up and dollies forward into a low-angle close-up of Kaffee. It's subtle, but it says everything. For the first time, he's in control. After a film's worth of doubt and hesitation, this shot tells us he's ready. Then Jessup enters. The contrast couldn't be sharper. As the colonel walks into the courtroom, the camera tracks backward in an exaggerated low angle. It's almost absurdly low, emphasizing his dominance. He doesn't just walk in, he owns the room. The lens doesn't observe him. It retreats from him. Without a word, the stage is visually set. Kaffee is the challenger, Jessup the immovable wall. These two opening shots are the first chess moves. They visually establish the power dynamic before a single question is asked. One man is stepping into his courage, the other into his fortress of authority. And from here, the camera will chart every subtle shift as that fortress begins to crack. As the questioning begins, the camera keeps its distance. Jessup is framed in wide and medium shots, composed with space around him. Even the over-the-shoulder angles from Kaffee's perspective make the room feel vast, reinforcing Jessup's dominance. He's not just confident, he's untouchable, and the courtroom feels like his domain. But then something shifts. Kaffee, armed with knowledge Jessup doesn't expect, steps forward, Not dramatically, but just enough. He moves closer to the center of the room, subtly breaking the spatial balance. The camera reflects this change. Over-the-shoulder shots now include more of Caffey's back, creeping into Jessup's space. A third of the frame begins to darken with Caffey's presence. It's quiet, almost invisible, but unmistakable. The pressure is no longer just verbal, it's visual. Caffey is squeezing Jessup, and the room that once felt so wide begins to close in. The battlefield has been drawn, and Jessup doesn't even know he's standing on a trap. There are 4 key shots in this scene that work like turning points in a chess game, each one marking a new step in Jessup's collapse. The first comes when Jessup takes the stand. The camera frames him in a powerful low-angle tracking shot as he enters. It's theatrical, almost exaggerated, telling us, this man is authority. This man cannot be shaken. But as Caffey starts digging, the second key shot appears. Caffey stands firm in the center of the courtroom. The camera cuts to Jessup, now seen through an over-the-shoulder shot where nearly half the frame is filled with Caffey's back. Jessup is visually squeezed into the corner of the screen. He hasn't lost composure yet, but the framing tells us the walls are tightening. The third shot is even more deliberate. After 6 minutes of mostly static coverage, the camera finally pushes in, slowly, tightly, on Jessup as he delivers a rehearsed lie. It's the scene's first and only dolly in. The tension spikes. The close-up invites us to read every micro-expression, but Jessup stays cold, composed. Still, the pressure is mounting. Then comes the crack. After Caffey corners him with logic. Why would Santiago need to be transferred if no one was to touch him? Jessup flinches. The fourth and final key shot hits after his confession. You're goddamn right I did. The camera cuts to a high-angle close-up, looking down on Jessup, small, exposed, and no longer in command. And finally, we cut wide. The military police flank him. He's boxed in, both literally and symbolically. It's the end of his command. With no words at all, the camera finishes what Caffey started. Jessup's power is gone, and we see it, frame by frame. This is the line. The moment everyone remembers, you can't handle the truth. But what makes it land so hard isn't just the delivery. It's the way the scene builds toward it like a storm. Caffey walks right up to Jessup, abandoning the power of his close-up and stepping into a wide shot. It's bold. He's exposed. The camera tells us this is a risk. Jessup erupts. The lens stays tight on him, holding the intensity. His monologue isn't just angry, it's revealing. He believes he's the hero, the protector. But Caffey isn't here for speeches. He strikes again. Did you order the code red?
Did you order the code red? You're goddamn right I did!
Jessup's reply, "You're goddamn right I did," is the emotional collapse, the unraveling of everything he stood for. And the camera, looking down at him in that rare high-angle shot, drives it home. Jessup has fallen, not because he lost the argument, but because the truth finally broke through. What makes this scene extraordinary is that you could watch it on mute and still feel every shift in power. The camera tells the story, the angles, the distance, the movement. You don't need the dialogue to know who's rising and who's falling. That's the brilliance of Reiner and Richardson's approach. They trusted the image, and in doing so, they transformed a legal showdown into a visual symphony of control, collapse, and catharsis. The final courtroom scene in A Few Good Men isn't just iconic because of its dialogue. It's a masterclass in visual storytelling. Through deliberate framing, subtle blocking, and perfectly timed camera moves, it shows us everything we need to know about power, pressure, and truth. Jessup's fall doesn't happen in one moment. It happens across 14 minutes of carefully constructed tension. That's why this scene isn't just memorable, it's legendary.